Welcome to One of a Kind podcast. Slay that stage, your backstage pass to the minds of world champions of public speaking.
Discover the stories, the strategies, and the skills of world-class speakers and get ready to transcend your fear of public speaking and slay every stage life presents to you.
Hello, and welcome back to your very own podcast, Slay That Stage Champion Store, with your host, Ayesha Hussain. As promised, we have another champion for you. But before I tell you about this champion or who the person is, I'd like to tell you, he has lived in so many countries that it's even difficult to count on your fingers. To just give you a glimpse, he did his elementary school in Austria, middle school in Germany, and high school in Okinawa. He's also a very highly decorated Vietnam War veteran. Awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for Valor in the Vietnam War, an act that saved the life of South Vietnam, the president of South Vietnam. He is highly sought after the keynote speaker. He has spoken in United States, Europe, Africa, and he motivates his audience across the world. When he is not on stage, he volunteers with the community, with elderly and children of special needs. Currently residing in Hawaii, our next champion today is Willy Jones, world champion of public speaking, 1997. Willy Jones. Welcome
Aloha.
to our show, Willy. Aloha. So just as I was going through your history of how many countries you've lived in, you've picked Hawaii. Why?
Hawaii is the most beautiful, spiritual, wonderful, warm, friendly country, friendly state and place on the planet. As you just said, I've lived in many places. I've lived in 9 different countries. I've gone to school places. I've visited other places. I can live any place I want. I chose Hawaii 30 years ago. I decided I wanted to live here because I had visited here and I had felt the aloha from the spirit of the Hawaiian people that endures until this day. I'm here because I love this place, and anyone that I've ever talked to who visits it or knows about it, even in Africa, I told people I'm from Hawaii, and they all lit up bright smiles on their face. None of them ever been to Hawaii, but they knew about it. So I'm here. I'm not going anyplace. You should come. I'll pick you up at the airport.
Most definitely. Since I was a contestant myself at the district level this year, placed second. So hoping I could be traveling more and encouraging and motivating people just like you and the other past champions. On the note of the contest, I wanted to ask you, when you are an IT professional, why did that move happen into public speaking, or what was the thought process behind it?
Well, I was in the Air Force, and I was in Phoenix, Arizona, at a place called Williams Air Force Base, and I was there because I had just returned from Italy, and I was at the end of my career and just waiting for retirement. And a friend of mine would come into my office every Wednesday and ask me to go to a Toastmasters meeting. I had no idea what Toastmasters was, and I didn't want to go to no Toastmasters meeting, whatever that was. I wasn't interested. This went on for 4 months until finally it was his birthday. And he said, come go to this meeting with me because it's my birthday. Of course, he's my friend. I went to celebrate his birthday. It was a Toastmasters meeting, and I sat there and I watched. And then when I watched and saw the evaluation portion, I said, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm interested. I joined Toastmasters that day, and I never left. So that's how I got started in the Toastmasters business, um, and started watching people speak. And I kept saying to myself, I can do that. So I started doing it. And it just soared from there.
Beautiful. How many times, if you don't mind me asking, did you attempt the contest?
Oh, okay. So 3 years after being in Toastmasters, one of the things that I had done is I like to hear speakers who had reputations of being very good. And I would travel around the district and go to clubs where one of these speakers were speaking, because we kind of all knew everybody in the district who were the best speakers. And after 3 years, I said to myself, I'm going to enter this contest. I think I'm ready. So I entered the contest at the club level. I won everything and got to the district stage. And here I am in downtown Phoenix at the district conference on stage, and I have no idea how I got there. I just know I'm here. And I won the thing. And I'm off to the regional contest, which that year was held in Kansas City. So I'm in Kansas City at a regional contest, having no idea what I'm doing. And I'm speaker number 5 of 8 speakers, and I win the contest. And I said, holy moly, I've won the contest. I'm going to San Diego for the international conference, and I'm going to be a finalist. Am I going to win this thing, the whole thing? And off I go to San Diego with the entourage of friends with me. I didn't win. I didn't place. I didn't show. But guess what? I didn't think I should win. I should have won. I thought the person who won it, whose name was Roy Fenstermacher, I thought he was the winner. So I didn't come away from that experience disappointed. I came away from that experience saying, if I can do what he did, I can win this. So I started learning from that point.
So when you say learning, I'm trying to see, like, I pretty much had a similar experience when I joined Toastmasters, but mine was few months into Toastmasters. I had delivered my second speech, and the person who evaluated me said, have you considered international contests? And I said, I didn't know such thing existed. I'm like few months into it. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And that year we were having humorous speech. So we have, one international and one second something else that goes to district. Me being as naive as I was, I thought that was the international contest. Entered the humorous speech, went all the way to district. Obviously, halfway through, I realized that's not the international. Went through it just having fun and not realizing how I got there. District, I didn't place anything. But that's when I found out people are having coaches and they're paying like arms and a leg to get trained, to get the right voice tone, right body language. So when you say learning, did you get a coach, and how important it is to have somebody else evaluate and coach you and take you forward?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Okay, so when I left the contest in San Diego in 1983, I knew that there was something about public speaking that I did not understand. And what that was, because at the contest that day, when Fenstermacher won the contest, he did something, I don't know what he did, and I'm sitting in the front row with the rest of the contestants, and I feel this wave of energy go over my head, and the hair on my neck stood up. So whatever Fenstermacher did on that stage created that.
Right.
And I felt it. So after the contest was over, I said, what did he do? That was my quest to figure that out, because I said, if I figure that out, I'll be back. Now, sure, there were coaches around, but I didn't know what to ask the coach to help me with.
Right.
Because I didn't know what I was missing.
Right.
So I went back to the basic Toastmaster manuals. And the one thing that I knew that I had not done, I had not taken those manuals seriously. I had not taken the 10 tasks in the manual, vocal variety, say what you mean, get to the point. All of the things in the basic manuals, I had not taken them seriously. I had just done those 10 speeches, got my CC certificate. So I said to myself, I'm going to go back and I'm going to master everything in those manuals, because based on the Toastmasters guides, if you do all of that, then you can win.
Right.
That's what I did. And I didn't get a coach. Let me just tell you just one other thing about why I didn't get a coach. I'm sort of a person who I'm internally motivated, so I tend to think in my head, and so I know when I'm off track. I know how to keep myself focused, and I wanted to do it myself. And I don't have any issues with people having coaches, but I'm not the type of person that needs a coach to get all fired up or to get all motivated. I'm not that guy. When I walk in the door, I'm fired up already. I'm ready to go, so I didn't need a coach to do all of the things that coaches do, and therefore I didn't have one.
So that's okay. So when you say, and I'm going to take it something as a speaker like me, I'm passionate about a lot of things that I want to talk, and I'm fired up, but I might still not have the certain knowledge, somebody inexperienced who knows it. So for them, if you are to give an advice to somebody who has the fire, has the passion, but if you'd say, hey, if you can add these 2 or 3 things to your public speaking, it will take it from this level to that level. What advice would that be?
I would say, find someone who will listen closely to you, who will watch you, who will listen to how you end sentences, how you start sentences, words, how you frame words. What type of images do you create in my head when you are speaking to me? Because the feedback that you want is, you want to know, how am I coming across to you?
Right.
Because you're the audience. So if you are, as an example, if I'm speaking to you and you say to me, when you drop your sentences at the end of when you talk, or you talk too fast, or you talk too slow, I'm not telling you about the contest. I'm saying how I am receiving what it is that you're doing. And
Right.
basically, as a coach, it's not so much the words, it's how I feel about it. Because when you're communicating, everything is communicating. The way you look, the way you sound, all of those things, all of those nonverbal things are communicating. And
Yeah.
as a coach, if all of those things are in harmony, then you're on the right track. But if they're not all in harmony, as your coach, I need to help you bring them into harmony, not telling you what to do, but telling you what difficulty I'm having understanding what it is that you're communicating, letting you then figure it out, because it's your speech, it's not mine. And if you want to say what you just said because it's important to you, by all means do it. I'm just giving you feedback and saying to you, that didn't strike me right. If you want to take the risk and do it anyway, fine. I don't have a problem with that. Your speech, not mine. But as a coach, I'm like a mirror. I'm not an instructor. I'm not someone who's going to say it this way or do it that way. I may make suggestions to you, but I'm not there to give you something that you don't already have. I'm there to bring out the best of what you have. Can't add to it, I can't subtract from it. Trying to help you frame it in the best possible way.
That's very beautifully said, that the coach's job is to bring out the best in their coachee. and their story, because end of the day, it's their story that they are sharing. But you said when you
Exactly.
were sorry, you were saying something when you said something around non-verbal communication on stage, how important it is to have that right body language, right expression, how important it is as a storyteller that you portray it correctly and not just by words.
Okay. I think that there is no correct way to give a speech. There is no um, perfect way. Whatever it is that you as a speaker believe is the best way for you to do it, then that's how you should do it. In my case, and as I give speeches today, I believe that nonverbal communications, nonverbal skills are much greater than verbal skills. I believe that human beings listen not to every word that you say, they listen to every feeling that you communicate because you create something in my mind when you are speaking. You create pictures in my mind. I don't listen to your words, or you miss a word, or you say that means absolutely nothing to me. And I don't think it means anything to people I'm speaking to. I think that if I get in there and I'm able to create the energy in that room where myself and the audience are bonded together and they are now listening to me, I can take them on whatever journey I want and they'll go willingly. I have to keep them animating at a certain frequency. I have to make them feel good or sad or funny or whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm using all of those nonverbal skills and some words to create this picture, this movie, this video, this feeling in them. That's what I believe, and that's how I speak. That's what I don't speak from memory. Like I write a speech and I rehearse it in a mirror and I get it all down pat. I don't do that. But I think that the most successful speakers in the world probably do that. Okay. And so I'm not saying it's wrong. And I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that each of us bring to the table our own set of skills and the way we employ those skills. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. It's what you believe because it's coming from inside of you. And I think that you should bet on yourself. Let me give you another example. I often hear people where English is their second language, and they will speak with an accent or with some uh, non-perfect expression of English. And
Right.
what I say to them is, first of all, we, the audience, know that English is your second language.
Right.
I want you to know that what we, as the audience, will do is our ears will tune to your frequency. You don't have to make excuses for not speaking English the way we speak it. We know that, and we'll tune to your frequency. But if you use gestures and nonverbal communications along with what it is you're saying, we'll hear you as perfectly as we hear a perfect English speaker. So you're not handicapped as much as you think you are if you are using all of those skills to communicate.
Oh, that's really beautifully said, because a lot of people, as you said, English is not their first language, and they struggle of coming on the stage, or they fear the public speaking because they might sound that they didn't say a word correctly. Or but when you, the way you said it was beautifully said, that when you combine that with the right body movement, it will create the right emotion that you're looking for. And
Exactly.
as you said, you don't memorize. It's something my mentor Craig Valentine says: do not memorize, but internalize your speech. So
Absolutely. That's perfect. Perfect.
So that's been my motto, because especially in my case, I usually use my own personal stories to motivate the audience. And because it's my story, I really don't find the need where the right comma or right full stop or a word here and there changes should not make a difference, as long as you said the emotions are
Right.
uh,
They will
coming.
not make a difference. And whenever I'm talking to audiences or even coaching, I tell people that if you memorize your speech, you're creating a problem for yourself. Because when you are standing in front of that audience that day at that time, that is the first time that you're going to give that speech to that audience. I guarantee you it will not be what your mirror in front of you. It won't be your practice session in front of you. Your nerves won't be the same. The butterflies will be there. All of the things that you cannot practice are going to occur on that moment, and any one of them can trip you up. If you can't remember the comma, if you can't remember the word that you memorized, it's going to trip you up. So don't do that. I say, do not do that. Audiences don't care about those things that we do in our meetings where the grammarian stands up and you said they don't care. That's a Toastmaster thing. The audience don't care. They just want the message, and they want you to give them a good story and entertain them and motivate them and inspire them. That's what they want. That can be done with a single sentence. You don't need 7 minutes to inspire anybody. How many inspirational quotes do we know? If you
No.
read an inspirational quote, you don't need to say anything else. It inspires you. So I'm very big on creating word pictures. I'm very big on creating emotions because we are emotional beings. And when we go to hear someone talk, if we're disengaged from you, we're going to start checking our DMs and Facebook,
No.
talking to the person next to us. That's what we're going to do. Not going to be listening to you.
So true. On that note, I want to ask you, have you ever experienced where you are delivering and the audience have zoned out?
Yes, 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 because you don't always have your A game, and something can happen in the room that kind of throws you a bit off, and if you struggle to get back on track. Yes, it's happened, and many times before I became very good at what I do, I didn't know what to do. I was sort of like the audience, and trying to figure out how do I get them back? Do I tap dance? Do I tell them a joke? What do I do? And to tell you the truth, a lot of times I didn't have an answer. I just sort of I knew that they were zoned out, and I couldn't bring them back because I didn't have the skills to do that. But today, I have many things that I can do with an audience because I'm always in tune with what the audience emotions are. And if they start to ebb a little bit, I know I can feel it. I know how to grab it and bring it back up there. And that can be movement, that can be vocal variety, that can be a wild gesture. It could be anything to shake them a little bit and bring them back to where I want them. One time I was number 6 speaker at the regional when I won the contest, but this was at the regional. And the lady before me, her message was call an 800 number and support breast cancer. That was the message in her speech. The audience was in the doldrums when it was my turn to speak. I said, holy Jesus, I cannot start this speech with that audience on the floor thinking about cancer. I have to bring them out. So I went out on that stage and I had to blow up the place in order to get them up. So I started yelling at them, and yelling something that they recognized and they had seen in a movie, and it was a very popular movie. So I was quoting the person in the movie. They knew what that quote was all about, and they started laughing. Now, once they started laughing, I was bringing them out of the doldrums and getting them into an emotional state where I needed them in order to start my speech. So I was smart enough to do that at that time. And prior to then, in 97, working up to that, if that had happened, I would have had no idea what to do. I would have gone out there with the audience in the doldrums. I would have started my speech, and I probably would never have dug them out of that valley because I wouldn't have known that they were in the valley. I would be thinking the audience is neutral when I come on the stage and I'm starting from zero. That's never the case. The audience is in a state of mind before you start, and that has to do largely with the person who just spoke before you. Where did he leave them? It's only a minute between the speeches, and their emotional state is back on the person they just heard. How can you get their attention onto you if you see that they are in the doldrums, or if you see that they're very animated, as an example? The person that spoke before them, he may have them vibrating way up here, but you don't want them there because you're about to give a patriotic speech. You want them here. You have
Right.
to know all of those things as a really, really good speaker.
So and now what you said something was something I've never actually thought about. And that goes to say you have years of experience. When you said the last speaker had them down thinking about cancer, you knew and you observed the audience, and that was a very quick thinking because we have only 5 to 7 minutes. Now when you've added something extra, that's taken away from your actual speech. And then I'm assuming you might have had to adjust your own speech to make sure that you don't get disqualified on time. On the spot, if you could tell something that if this happens to someone else, what's the quickest way to edit that and still make it in time?
Okay. The message, the conclusion, is the most important part of the speech. Bonding with the audience is the first part of the speech. Not starting the speech, bonding with the audience. The opening of your speech has only one purpose: to bond with the audience. Has no other purpose.
Wow.
None. So
Wow.
if I don't get that audience bonded with me in the first 60 to 90 seconds, chances are I'm not going to win them. Now, the middle of the speech is your story, or 3 stories, or 3 points, or whatever it is that's going to keep them on this journey with you. The journey is the message, which may be the last minute. But all you're doing in the middle of that speech is preparing them to accept the message. That's what you're doing. You're telling them stories, jokes, making points, whatever you're doing, it's all about getting them to the message. Now, so I've had to get the audience bonded with me, and it's taken longer than I had planned. I know that. So where am I going to get that time back? I'm going to get it back in the middle, because the middle is not that essential. It has nothing really to do with what I'm doing. All I'm doing in the middle is keeping them engaged. That's all. That is it. I'm going to use metaphors and stories and anecdotes and whatever. But all I'm doing is keeping them animated, keeping them with me. That's all. They like me because I got them to like me at the beginning. Now they're in the middle. I got to keep them liking me, keep them engaged so they don't get bored. So I keep them, their emotions moving. Then I know that the green light just came on. It's time for me to transition to the message. I transition to the message. I'm back on time. I can now deliver the message in the strongest possible way that I planned, exactly the way I planned it. So I cut out the time that I need to make up in the middle, because that is not essential to what it is that I'm doing.
That is only I personally at this point can't imagine going on the stage and on the spot editing something. Guess need more practice.
Well, wait, what the thing, okay, but what you're saying, what that's saying to me is you've memorized it.
Um, Not necessarily. What I'm trying to say is that because of the message, because I come from India, so sometimes I have to explain the cultural background of my thought process or why that happened. So if I skip that, some of my story may be lost.
When you say you have to explain something, give me an example.
For example, entrance exams happens in India even for primary schools like grade 1, 2. That doesn't exist in North America. So I have to explain why a 7-year-old was sitting in an entrance exam room.
You have to explain why the 7-year-old was sitting in the exam room.
Yes, because
Okay,
that doesn't happen in North America. So I have to explain, oh, in India, we have primary schools, we have entrance exams and such, or certain cultural things like where I said, I talk about cultures or festivals celebrated in India and why it's celebrated. So I'm explaining a little bit of a background, but
okay,
not
so
every time. But sometimes I need to, and so then it gets difficult. Oh, what do I cut from here?
do you think that when you explain that to me that it what am I as an audience supposed to do with that information? Is it necessary for me to know how it's different in India from any other place in the world? Or if you say it's different, isn't that enough? Why do you need to explain it?
Okay, that's another thought. You okay? I'll take that back as a learning curve and say, okay, why does it need to be there?
Right. See, in other words, again, you're from India. I know that when you walk on the stage. When you start talking about Indian culture, I know that I don't know Indian culture, but I didn't come here for a cultural class.
You
I'm
came here
only
for
here
the
for the
message.
I'm only here for the message.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So especially in global world, for the audiences, it's like doesn't matter where you are from, your message will still resonate globally.
Exactly. That's the point. Remember that. Put a pin in it.
Will do. Will definitely do. Because end of the day, we are all humans with the same emotions. And as long as we can invoke that, that's the purpose served on the stage.
No matter where you are in the world, people want the same thing. Again, we don't speak the same language, we don't eat the same food, but we all want the same thing. We want to be a better version of ourselves. We want to know things. We want to be happy. And again, I've been all over the world. I don't find the world as strange as people think it is. I've gotten along in every place I've ever been because I didn't approach it from the standpoint of this is different, and I don't need to do this and blah, 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 blah. I get right in there and do everything they're doing, and I learned that as a child. And I'll give you a little story. When we went to Austria, I was in elementary school. And when we got there, as Americans, we were given briefings, and my mom would take us there, and they were telling her that you can't eat fresh vegetables. You have to wash them and Clorox 1 part per million in order to kill the bacteria. Don't eat ice cream because the milk is not pasteurized. Blah 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 blah. So when we left those briefings, when we went to the marketplace, my mom bought vegetables. She cooked them just like she did when we were at home in the United States. She gave us ice cream. And when we asked her why, she said, the people in this country are human beings just like you and I. They're eating this. They're not dying. You ain't going to die. You may get a little bit sick. You'll get better. Get over it.
I like that. I really like that. That's
I
global
remember
acceptance.
I remember that for the rest of my life, and I never had a problem whenever I'd go into a foreign country holding my nose. I didn't do any of that. I did what they did, just because they're human beings, just like me. and they're eating it. I can eat it. I may not like the taste, but that's the only part of it. It's not that I think there's something wrong with it or wrong with these people. They're just like me. And if you have the attitude that they're just like me, you're going to be fine.
I personally love this message. I'm big on humanity and acceptance. So when you said that, when you go there and they're just like me, or I'm just like them, is
Right.
is a beautiful, beautiful message, especially with everything else that's going around.
Of course, but that's the whole point of living together, even right here in the United States. There are people in the United States that won't go here, won't do this, blah, 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 blah. And I hear it and I just laugh. I go wherever the hell I want. I do whatever the hell I want to do. Nobody bothers me. I don't bother them. If you're radiating acceptance and harmony, it people sense that. But if you walk in all tensed up and you're frowning and you're gruff and all of that, people sense that too. We don't know. People want to get along generally. There may be a jerk here and there, but I'm not going to live my life with jerks. I'm not going to even consider it. I run into plenty of jerks, but I run into many, many more non-jerks. So I'm
100%.
okay. I'm okay. I fear tigers and lions and all of those things, but I don't go looking for them. I don't think if I see one in Hawaii, I'll be fascinated, but I won't all of a sudden build walls around my house because I think the tigers are coming to get me. Nobody's coming. So be happy, live your life, get on with it.
And I think when you say that, it applies to even when we go on the stage. The people listening, the audience, are just human like you and I. And as long as we can give them the message packaged how we would have liked to receive it, I'm sure it will be received well.
One of the things that happened in my winning speech. So I'm speaker number 8. I have watched 7 speakers speak. I know where the emotional state of the audience is. The emotional state of the audience was neutral. No one had taken the audience. They were okay with everybody, but they weren't all excited about anybody. So I'm saying to myself, the audience is neutral. My job then is to go up there on that stage, grab the audience, put them in my pocket, walk off the stage with them in my pocket, and speaker number 9 has an impossible task of taking them back. Because if I get them in my pocket, I win this contest. Because nobody has them. They're available. So this is all of the things I'm telling you are happening in real time.
Right.
I walk onto the stage. I know that the Toastmaster has told all of us there's an X on the stage in the middle. Go stand on the X. The Toastmaster will say your name, your speech title, your name. The Toastmaster will remain standing until you acknowledge him or her. Then they will sit down. You can then do what you can. Once you make a speaking move, the clock starts. So I go out to the stage, and I'm in the middle of the stage. And what I remember at that moment is that every other speaker, 1 through 7, had moved horizontally, side to side. They pretty much stayed in the middle of the stage as they moved back and forth. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk from this X to the edge of the stage towards the audience. What is that going to do? It's going to change the depth perception of the audience because they're now going to have to refocus on me because their eyes were focused on that X. I moved forward. The audience then had to refocus, and what their brain said is something is different here. We got to refocus. So now I've already changed something. The next thing I did is I told them, I said verbally, I'm going to come out to the edge of this stage so you can get a good look at this fella. Now, I said that because I knew that they were refocused on me. So I acknowledged what their brain was already telling them. And they sort of murmured with friendliness because I said that. The next thing I did is I walked across the edge of that stage and I said, I got my letter from the AARP, which was the opening line of my speech. The reason I said that is because there were 2,400 people in the audience, and probably 19 or 2,000 of them were 50 years old or over. And I knew that every one of them had received a letter from the AARP, and it was unwelcome because nobody wants to be reminded that they're getting old. Now, once I said that, they laughed because the ones who had gotten that letter had the same feeling that I had. So suddenly, what am I creating in their mind? He's just like me. I like him. We're bonded.
Right.
I got them. All I got to do is keep them. That's it. It didn't matter what I said for the next 4 to 6 minutes. And I said a lot of things. I just kept them laughing and having a good time. I didn't have anything particular that I wanted to talk to them about. Nothing. I just wanted to keep them with me until the end of that speech. And the last thing that I told them was, don't be so immersed in yourself, something to that effect. And I said, because the number of people who are going to attend your funeral will be largely determined by the weather that day. You're not that important. They all laughed, had a great time. I walk off the stage. Backstage, speaker number 9 didn't even look at me because he was defeated, and I knew that. So I knew there's no way he's going to get that audience back. I go out, I sit next to the other 7 speakers. The audience is still noisy. They're still laughing. I'm sitting down. The Toastmaster says to them, be quiet. And I'm saying in my mind, don't be quiet. So now, one last thing. So after I win the contest and I am standing in the hallways, shaking hands and signing autographs and taking pictures with people, I started saying to myself, I'm going to ask a question. So I started asking people, what did I talk about today? And everyone said pretty much the same thing. They said, I don't know, but it sure was good. Perfect. That's exactly what I went there to achieve. Exactly that. So my journey to win the contest was a culmination of learning how to use all of those skills, communication skills, and get them all harnessed for that day, just for that day. I've never been able to give that speech again because it was only for that audience. I can't, if people ask me all over the world, please give your speech, can't do it. I can tell you how I put it together. I can tell you about it, but I cannot give it to you because that speech was given to that audience. That's what it was for, and I cannot repeat it.
So I'm understanding that each speech needs to be tailored to the audience.
Absolutely.
Because each audience is different.
Each audience is different. The feeling in the room is different. Everything is different. How you feel is different. It's all different. It's not, you can't duplicate it. Can't be done.
So before you go on,
in my mind.
Yes. No. So, and all it, whatever you just said, it all resonates with me so well, especially coming from a contest background. That before you go on the stage, read the room, understand what your audience is and where they are.
Yes.
But I noticed that you said even in the prior time when you said the lady talked about cancer and you started with a joke. I want to understand how important it is because engaging you can keep them in multiple ways by asking questions, by creating a downhill emotion or getting but how important it is to keep your audience laughing that they're engaged with you.
Well, I don't think that. I think laughing is not it. I think engaged is it. Because I may not want them laughing. I may want them to cry. I may want them to be quiet. I may want them to raise their hand. Whatever it is, whatever emotion or behavior I want from them, I have a purpose for wanting that. And my purpose is to keep them engaged, keep them with me. Don't let them fall behind and start wondering what I'm saying. Because if you use a word as an example in the speech that's unfamiliar and the audience has to say, and what's that? You've lost them just that quick. So your word choice is important. It has to be words that are common, words that people understand easily. I was coaching a young lady once, and she wanted to use the word eros, eros, in her speech. She was adamant that she wanted to use that word, and I said, "Hey, it's your speech, not mine." But what I'm telling you is that when you use that word, I don't know what you mean, because it stands for different things. So it's going to cause me to think. And if I start thinking rather than listening, you've lost me. So all I'm asking you as a speaker is to consider. You don't want the audience thinking or trying to figure out what it is that you're saying. And so it's not just the words or a joke. You have to be skilled enough to know you may want the audience to be quiet. How do you get an audience to be quiet? How do you get them to make loud noises? How do you get them to look around? How do you do all of that? Well, first, you have to be bonded with them, which happens in the first part of the speech. Then they have to want to listen to you, which means you are giving them information that keeps them interested. You can then take them, wave them around, move them around. You've seen, I'm sure that you've seen professionals at concerts and things where the audience will do whatever they say, and the person on stage will do something, and the audience knows that gesture from the record or the video that they made, and they'll start doing it. That's the same thing. It's just a larger platform, and you have 5 to 7 minutes to create this big movie that we're talking about. That's the skill. This is not easy to do. It's hard. And I tell people who are vying for this contest, you have to be all in. You just can't mail this in. You just can't say, "Oh, I think I'll enter the contest." No, you got to work. It's hard work. But the reward, oh my, it's worth every minute. So if you're going to people who want to win the contest and next year, they should be working on it right now. Work on it.
100%. I agree. 100%. But when you said something about reward, how did winning the championship change your life?
Well, okay, so I win the contest, and I started getting all of these invitations from districts all over the world to come and do their district contest. So that's the first thing you get. And I started selecting the ones that I wanted to visit, and I started visiting them. But how it changed my life was I would meet people along the way, people who knew that I was the champion. I'd go to schools and I was on TV. And it wasn't so much those experiences, but it was other opportunities, unexpected opportunities that fell into my lap. Okay, so I'm in Chicago, doing something in Chicago for a district up there. But while I'm there, I go to a convention at McDonald's Hamburgers, one of their headquarters. And I'm there. I meet someone from the country of Kenya in Africa. And we're talking, and the person says, "Give me your information." And from that encounter, I ended up going to Africa. I go to Africa, I meet people in Africa, and I ended up going to other places. So the opportunities are there, unexpected opportunities, but once you achieve some notoriety and you got a little bit of fame, you got your 15 minutes, you have to be open. You got to be open to everything. You have to be ready when the door opens also, because the one thing that I can tell champions, the door opens and it closes. Okay? It's 15 minutes metaphorically. You get 15 minutes of fame, then it's over. So the door opens, the light shines brightly. That's when you can elevate yourself as high as you wish. At looking back, there are things that I could have done better. There are ways that I could have elevated myself more. And I realized that. But at the time, I had to make choices. And I made those choices, and I don't regret any of it. But I look back on it and I say to myself, well, I wished I'd done that, or I wished I'd done that. But now that I'm many years removed from that, although I still have the title, people want to hear what the current title holder is saying. The only people that really want to hear what I'm saying is people who've heard me and want to hear me again. But the person who's going to win in August of this year, that person needs to get off that stage and move quickly, because time flies. And before you know it, it's over. So my life changed very dramatically and was enriched beyond my expectations. It is a journey worth taking. This is the highest achievement within a worldwide organization that you can achieve. It's a goal worthy of going after. But it takes work. There's no magic formula. You can go to Stage Time University. You can talk to Willy Jones or Darren LaCroix and Mark Brown. You can do all of those things. Nothing substitute from doing the work. That's what it's all about. Doing the work. And doing the work means get out there and speak. Speak anywhere, anytime, anytime. If someone says, "Can you talk about this?" Do it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. That's the whole point, right? The more you do it, the better you are. But it's not about reading books or listening to me tell you what's good. It's about you going out there and saying to yourself, did I have that audience today? What did I do wrong today? How can I get better at this? I'm going to go back and do it again. You don't have to share that with anybody, just yourself or your loved ones. But it's the work. If you speak today, tomorrow, the next day, if you speak, 6 months from now, you will be exponentially better than you are today. If you started out having coach, you will not be you will not be better as you were if you were speaking. Speaking makes you better. Speaking, doing it makes you better. Coaching makes you a better version of yourself. Speaking makes you a better speaker. You have to speak.
Yep. Or as I've heard, stage time. Keep going. The more you practice, the better you get it. Yep. Practice makes you better.
Yep.
And I know we are towards the end, but I cannot let you go before asking. You said you've created such a strong impression on my head now that how important it is to bond with your audience even before you can take them on journey. For the benefits of our audience, if you can give us 2 to 3 tips on what is the best practice to bond with your audience, or what can they do?
First, you have to have a really good idea of who the audience is. What I mean by that, not personally, but where are they mentally? Let's say that this is a patriotic audience. let's say that this is an audience of young people. Let's whatever the majority of that audience is, where their sentiments are, what is it that they are interested in, you have to play off of that. Now, because you want the audience, well, first, I think all audiences want you to succeed. I don't think that anyone goes to see anybody speak and they want them to fail. So understand that. But it's neutral when you start. They're not for you, they're not against you. They're sitting there available for you to embrace, for get them to embrace you, push you away. That's on you. It's not on them.
Right.
So now when you armed with this information, armed with all that information, you craft your introduction, which is the first part that you are um, that you're going to bond with the audience. Of course, in Toastmasters, we don't do introductions, but I'm saying that the first thing they're going to see when you walk on this, when they see you come on the stage, they're going to look at you and they're going to say, she looks like she's from India. Maybe Pakistan. I don't know. But she's not one of us. We know that. So that's what they know before you say anything. They're
Right.
not for you or against you. Maybe one of them are for you or more against you. Who knows? But the majority of the people, that's all they know. Now, the minute you do anything, it's going to stir them. They're going to lean forward mentally or physically or both and say, this is interesting. Or they're going to fold their arms and say, what is this? So all of those things, you're going to have to sense that. Not you can see some of it, but you're going to have to sense in your mind, where is the energy in this room? And the question then becomes, how do I get them to focus on me and like me? There's no formula, but that's the task. So now, to practice it, go into audiences, work on the opening, not telling anybody you're working on the opening. Work on it. Work on it. Go to different audiences, unfamiliar audiences, strange audiences. Go places that not comfortable for you and see, can you bring them around? Understanding how you can move their emotions one way or another. If you fail, do the self-analysis. Why did I fail? What did I do wrong? If you succeed, what did I do good? How, and you have a store you have that information now in your memory. You can recall it at any time. You can use those things at any moment. If the audience starts to go down, you say to yourself, they're going down. I got to bring them back up. Do I do a tap dance? Do I wave my hands? What do I do? I got to do something. I just can't ignore the fact that the energy is dropping in the room. Because if the energy drops, I'm losing them. It's my job to not lose them. Start banging on it, whatever you do, but making the right choice and getting them back with you is how you're going to win. Of course, laughter is always universally the best thing you can get them to do. So if you always have something that you know can get people laughing, then you're going to win 100% of the time. One last thing, when they laugh, you have to laugh.
Yes.
See, if you tell a joke and you don't laugh, you're not giving me permission to laugh. I may not even think it's a joke. But if you laugh, I may just be laughing at you, with you, not at you, but with you. So in other words, I tell speakers, why can't you telling the joke and you're not laughing? When I tell a joke, I laugh with the audience, and we all have a good time laughing at my joke. I have a joke that I tell in my Toastmasters club. I've been telling the same joke. I promise you, the same joke. Every time I'm the joke master, I tell the same joke. And they go, oh God, he's going to tell us the zoo joke. But you know what? They still laugh. And they know exactly what I'm going to say.
Right. So audience tend to mirror what you're doing. If
Yes.
that's a
Yes.
beautiful note. On that note, I'd like to take a segue and bring you the question from our one of our past champions for you.
Okay.
I have for the next guest on the Play That Stage podcast is this. If you, knowing what you know now, how you have advanced as a speaker and some of the experiences you have now, if you could give one or two pieces of advice to a brand new speaker who is just stepping onto the stage, as it were, that would help them to grow as a speaker most efficiently and most effectively, what would
Okay. My answer to that question is in Toastmasters today, July 29, 2024, you have a website, Toastmasters International. On that website are more resources than you can imagine. If you want to be a great speaker, go to that website, read the material, watch the videos, do pathways. Pathways doesn't teach you anything. You teach yourself. And Pathways offers you a guide in order to progressively move you through the elements of becoming a effective speaker. You do the work. You just don't do it to get the check mark. You do it and be satisfied that you have mastered it. And then you move on. And the way you know you've mastered it is not by saying you mastered it, but having the effect, by seeing the effect of the audience on what it is that you did. I am convinced that if you do the work inside the lines that we are blessed with in Toastmasters, you'll get to the one thing that all speakers have, all champions have, all great athletes have. Anyone who is great in any profession, there's a common thread. And that common thread is confidence. It's confidence. One word. A confident person is the person who's going to always be in the front. They're not going to be in the back. They're not going to be in the middle. They're going to be at the front. And if they're not at the front, they're clawing their way forward to get there. Confidence is the key to my success. I'll bet you that every world champion will say the same thing. It's confidence. And confidence is the goal of every path in Pathways. Level 5 is confidence. Toastmaster knows it. I know it. I'm telling you today, that's the secret.
So beautifully said, confidence. And before that, you said practice. Practice leads to confidence.
It does.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this, Willy?
I've had a great time. I'm offering you an invitation to come to Hawaii so you can see this beautiful place. You may not leave, but I've enjoyed it. I appreciate the invitation, and I look forward to watching your podcast going forward and watch you grow as a podcaster. Take over the world.
Thank you, Willy. That is what the goal is, world domination with kindness and motivation.
Absolutely.
Until next time, signing off, Ayesha Hussain. But before you leave, tell us what was your takeaway? My takeaway was practice builds confidence. So practice, practice, practice. Until next time, signing off. Ayesha Hussain.